Hi guys, so in this video I'm going to show some simple techniques that I use to make MDF terrain, well, not look like MDF terrain. Although these days, yeah, the terrain is so much better than the terrain that I used to sort of cut out years and years ago. So all the files you see here, I'll leave links down below. Yeah, my fingers are messy. I will explain why a little bit later on. So these files I got from Thingiverse. I love using Thingiverse for all sorts of stuff. Obviously, you can get awesome 3D sort of resin printed kind of stuff here. But yeah, the thing I love about Thingiverse is it's free. So I type in MDF terrain. Most of the terrain is for 3mm MDF. So if you do buy MDF to cut, then yeah, 3mm is the one you want. But as you can see, a whole host of stuff. But obviously, the only kind of game that I really play, and that's Kill Team. So that's why I'm going to get some Kill Team pieces from here and as I say, show some simple techniques that I use to make it look a lot less like MDF terrain and more like, well, some awesome terrain that you're going to want to play your battle games on. So you can obviously buy MDF terrain, but I've got a laser engraver, which I've had for a good few years. So that's what I'm going to use. Very simple setup, very simple to use. Online software that I'm using here called Lightburn. This is where all the files that I've downloaded from Thingiverse, I just drag and drop them here. And as you can see, I've copied and pasted just so I can make quite a lot of these. Well, these are the columns in between the wall units for the Kill Team board, say, which I love playing. So the laser engraver I have is the Creality Falcon 2 Pro. So I've had this for a few years, works awesomely. And I say, it's one of these things where you never knew you wanted, but when you have one, it's amazing what you can do with it, and you will find yourself using it all the time. So it's a nice big size, it cuts through MDF a treat. And obviously you can laser engrave onto a whole variety of stuff. And if you're ever thinking about getting a laser engraver, now's definitely the time to do it, as they're having a big celebration. And as it says here, up to 52% off the cost of their products. They do a big full range of laser engravers as well, which is cool, because it does then mean it suits everyone's budget. They do have a new laser engraver out, which I've just received. So I'll be using that in some upcoming videos as well. But again, links down below, guys. Say this offer though only valid up until the 10th of this month. And yeah, there's big savings on the laser engraver I use. It's about £380 off at the moment. So yeah, big savings. So yeah, go check that out. This video is sponsored by Creality, but as always, guys, all the words you hear me say are my own. Obviously, clearly, I don't write a script. This is literally, I just talk and waffle throughout the whole thing. Plus, I would never promote or endorse a product that I didn't think was good. As I say, I've been using this thing for a good couple of years now. Made a whole variety of, well, all kinds of stuff, really. Display boxes, paint racks, and a whole load of terrain. So I've taken this one outside. I keep swapping around my little area that I work in. So where I'm currently sitting, I'm not near a window. I say this thing is awesome. It is safe. It is good to use, but you do need it to be near somewhere where you can vent out all the fumes that come from cutting up MDF. And as I say, unfortunately, I'm nowhere near a window at the moment. So all the bits, yeah, pop out really well. I say this thing, I've got the 40-watt one. It can cut, I think it's something like 10mm thick MDF in one pass. Obviously, you can make it go through several passes. So obviously, I don't want to waste any of the MDF. If I had this connected to my computer, there is a camera inside this laser engraver, which is awesome. So you can see exactly where you're cutting. But as it's not connected to the laser engraver, as you can see, all I'm doing is I'm putting it on the bit of board there next to where the original bits were cut out. I do have masking tape inside the laser engraver. You can just about see there. So I can always put the MDF sheet back in the same spot that it was before. And that way I know, well, I can use every bit of this MDF, so there's no wastage. Although these MDF sheets, they cost around about 80p. So that's another good reason for making MDF terrain. It's so cheap. Once you've done the initial cost of the laser engraver, yeah, you'll use this thing over and over again. So this is why my fingers are dirty. So this laser engraver, I had it cut in on one pass, as in it cuts it in one go. Or you can have it do it slower. But obviously a lot less power. So because I had it at quite a high power, it does almost burn the edges. As you can see here, they're very dark. And unfortunately, when they're like that and you're using glue, this stuff, it gets on your hands and then the glue just makes it stay there. So yeah, I should have had it on a lower setting and done more passes. But hey ho, I like the fact that this is a laser engraver. It's a real laser, which I find still nuts. You can have a laser in your house and you can cut things with it. But yeah, there you go. So this is obviously what's come out. And I say the actual files themselves, the fact that these are free, someone's made all this, put it online, you can download it for free. It's just awesome because this stuff, I say, it looks great and it does look a whole lot better than some of the MDF terrain that I may have cut up and used in the past. Yeah, excuse fingers again. I just thought I'd show them. Um, so this is me after washing the stuff off, but obviously that glue, yeah, it's keeping it on. So for painting these, to make it easier, I thought I'd pop these on my little painting handles. You can get hold of these on my Patreon page. Simple enough little design, printed it out, 3D printed. So yeah, so just using double-sided tape. Well, this is how I normally paint my miniatures, with double-sided tape, because obviously it sticks them on there really, really well. But then obviously they come off nice and easy. So before I do prime these, I'm just giving these a bit of a wipe. I say, because of the burnt edges, if I spray straight over this, yeah, some of the paint might come off because obviously this burnt stuff is kind of, well, loose. So there we go. Yeah, primed in black. Yeah. So I keep showing my fingers because I keep washing them. But yeah, I had to rub them real sore to get everything off. So this is one of the main things I do to terrain, whether it's 3D printed or laser engraved, is, well, this is terrain that's been shot at, blown up, all kinds of stuff. So I like to make it, well, a bit more appropriate to that sort of setting. And yeah, weathering, damage, bullet holes, all the rest of it, that's what I like to put in. So I've got one of these cheap Dremel kind of tools. So this probably cost me, I think, about £18. I've had this for a couple of years as well. Works perfectly. Obviously, it does run out of charge quite quick. And if you push down too hard, then it will stop working. But other than that, yeah, it's awesome. Go and get one. So yeah, battle damage. And as I say, this is one of the first things I do. Even when I resin print terrain, I go over it just to really sort of mess it up. Yeah, because obviously my preferred style of painting as well is kind of like grimdark. So I like things to look like they really have been through the wars and they're not too neat. So even though some of these bits of MDF terrain look like they've got sort of battle damage and bits missing, yeah, I think they need more. So definitely bullet holes. I love bullet holes. The other thing in this though, there are obviously gaps where the MDF goes together, but obviously not as neat as it probably should be. So with this, you could obviously just fill this in with spackle or a bit of grout. But in this case, let's say, because I want this to look really battered, bruised, and rusty. That's the kind of look I'm going to be going for when I paint this. So the best way to make rust look better is to add fine sand, because this then gives the whatever it is you're painting some texture. And obviously when the rust does come through, it does sort of, well, make the metal tin bubble up, whatever it is. Again, I'm no expert on rust, so I'm just going to waffle here, and people are going to say, no, that's not correct. So I'm going to stop talking about that. But yeah, I like to put a little bit of this fine sand. This will fill in any nooks, gaps, crannies, all that kind of stuff. But it'll also just add a bit of texture to the rest of the bits of units here. Again, so this is very simple techniques to make MDF not look like MDF. And again, I do this though with resin as well, just because I don't want them bits to look too nice, too neat. So just going to go over, so very simple paint job on this as well. Definitely want it to look weathered and battered. But I do like the old hazard stripes, because obviously that just adds another effect of things looking a bit sort of, well, a bit eerie, a bit dodgy. Yeah, so good old yellow, black stripes. We'll have them everywhere, especially when this terrain as well. Obviously with the laser engraving, the thing I love about that is obviously you can do a full cut into the MDF, or you can just sort of score in lines, which is pretty cool. Right, so the next bit, yeah, if you've been watching my channel a while, you'll know what I'm doing here. As soon as you see the cup of water, the little lid, a dry brush, yeah, it's good old dirty down rust. Again, this is always my go-to because it is so simple, so easy, but very effective. If you've never seen this stuff before, yeah, go and watch loads of videos on it, because honestly, it's like magic in a bottle. So the reason it's in the lid, that's where I'm putting it on nice and neat, and then my little cup of water is just to help dilute areas. So this then you then get, when it dries, you get some areas that are going to look darker than others. And the other good thing with the water is you get some nice streaky drip marks. And I kind of use this as a wash. So as you can see, I go over everything with this. And that's why I've got another cutting mat underneath, because I don't want my new cutting mat to get dirty. So I use an old one, which well, basically gets used a lot for this. So yeah, everything gets covered, leave it to dry, and it comes out like this. To be honest, it does normally come out better on resin prints. I think obviously because this is MDF, it still does soak up some of that moisture, some of that paint. It still come out pretty good, but yeah, you definitely get a better effect on resin. So honestly, guys, go check out Dirty Down Rust. Stuff is awesome. And then yeah, just go over and obviously dry brushing. Obviously, I should have got a bit more silver off first. That first little pass was quite thick. But again, this is just another good, simple little effect. When you go over, it makes it look like obviously it was made of metal as opposed to being little bits of wood. But this is another reason why I like putting the fine sand, because that really does then look like rust sort of coming through, being all bubbly, nurgly, and all the rest of it. Gonna add a little bit of colour to this, not too much, because again, I like my bits of terrain looking like they've been weathered, beaten, battered, and just generally been there for like hundreds of years. So using my very expensive little dabbing brush here, a bit of a scouring brush attached to a lollipop stick, so no expense spared there. And then yeah, just dab it on. But I'm trying to dab it on in areas where there isn't that textured sand coming through. Just because obviously I don't want that to look well, like it's paint over it really. Yeah, so those black and yellow stripes I did at the very beginning, they've kind of got lost in the whole weathering bit. So I'm just kind of putting them back on, just because I do like the old hazard stripes. But yeah, sometimes you do almost kind of feel like you're repainting certain areas just because you are building up layers and chucking on more paint. But again, I think it all just adds to it, because now I'm going to get some dark areas, and underneath there's some lighter dark areas. And then I guess the last sort of thing, again, using the old transfers. I love transfers because there's no way I can sort of write or type or paint this kind of thing on here. So transfers, yeah, stick them everywhere, here, there. I did want to try and get it in the center of the door, but obviously once I put it on, I found, yeah, there's no way it's going to move. But then I wanted to add a bit more of distress to the transfer. So I do kind of like scrape a few bits away here and there. But yeah, there we kind of go, guys. Nice, simple, easy ways of making MDF terrain look a little less MDF-y. Again, you could spend more time doing more bits to this, but it's very simple techniques. And I say it is more about making this thing look weathered, beaten, bashed. And yeah, so rather adding little bits of sand or grout or spackle or something like that, just to make the things not look too smooth, too neat, too even. But yeah, very simple. And I say MDF terrain. Yeah, love it, because obviously it's a lot quicker than 3D printing. That's for sure, cutting bits out. So guys, definitely, if you are ever thought about getting a laser engraver, go check out the links down below. Honestly, it's one of those things that I never really thought about having until I got hold of one. And I do use it lots. And I say, you would have seen me use it to make a whole variety of display cases, as well as paint racks. And there's so much more, honestly, because you can obviously laser engrave onto stuff, which is just awesome. Okay, guys, hope you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to like, share, leave comments, all that wonderful stuff. Big shout out, thank you to my lovely patrons for making it possible for me to, well, keep doing this full time. You guys take care, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.